The ground was wet and sticky, filled with mud and the smell of animals. Old speakers played static music while sellers shouted prices. It was just another market day on the edge of Earth's farming zone. Jax Miller, a simple human farmer, stepped into the auction yard. He wore a brown coat, worn boots, and had one goal in mind: buy a cow, go home, no surprises. He walked past alien spice vendors, scrap metal dealers, and robot part sellers. His boots sank into the mud and flies buzzed near his face. He ignored the strange stalls and followed the signs that read, "Livestock Auction." A big banner caught his eye. Painted in red letters, "Buy one cow, get a free alien worker wife." He stopped, squinting at the words, thinking it was a joke. "What in the galaxy is this garbage?" Jax muttered, shaking his head. People around the booth laughed. Some even took pictures next to the cow pens. A small cage sat in the mud. Inside was a girl, not human, quiet, still and cold. Her skin was pale with a hint of silver, and her hair was white like winter. She looked young, maybe 20 by human standards. Chains held her ankles, and her arms were wrapped around her knees. Her eyes were large, glowing slightly, and full of something Jax didn't understand. Not fear, not sadness, but waiting. "She comes with the cow," the seller laughed. "Cheap deal. You take the animal, you take her too. She's been trained, cleans, cooks, works all day." "No talking back." The crowd laughed louder. "Buy a wife, feed her hay." Someone shouted, "Careful, she might eat the cow." Another joked. Jax frowned, looking away. He didn't like slave trade, especially not this public kind. But the cow looked strong, and he needed one for the farm. He stepped closer, trying to ignore the girl. Then something strange happened. The girl slowly lifted her head and looked at him, her eyes locked onto his. And in that moment, everything around him disappeared. No laughter, no smell, no mud, no market. Just her eyes, sharp, glowing, silent, and full of hope. Jax stepped back, his heart suddenly heavy. He wasn't here to save anyone, just to buy a cow. "You interested, farmer?" The seller called out, "Good cow, and she's quiet." "Never bites." Jax looked at the cow. It was average. Not great, but he looked at the girl again. And this time she blinked. Not in fear, but like she was giving him a signal. He took one step toward the cage, then another. The laughter started again. "Uh-oh, lover boy's falling for her. Careful, she might lay eggs. Touch the cage and she's yours." He placed one hand gently on the metal bars. The cold shocked his skin, but her eyes never moved. She didn't smile. Didn't cry, didn't beg, she just waited. Like she'd been waiting a long time, too late. The seller shouted, slamming a hammer on the desk. "You touched the cage, deal's locked. You bought her, friend." "What?" "No, I was just— No refunds." "You buy the cow, the girls included. Take it or leave it." The crowd cheered and some began filming on their devices. "Lucky man. Got himself a wife for free. Marry her or milk her, your choice." Jax's face turned red with anger. He hated these markets, these rules, these games. But if he walked away now, he'd lose his credits. The system had him trapped. He looked back at the girl still sitting in the cage. She hadn't moved, hadn't looked away. She just whispered one soft word. Too soft for the crowd to hear. "Please," Jax sighed, running a hand through his hair. "This is a bad idea," he muttered. But he paid the price, grabbed the cow's lead rope, and the girl's cage was unlocked. She stepped out barefoot into the mud, her head down, one chain still around her wrist like a bracelet. But she walked quietly beside him, saying nothing. People laughed as he led the cow and the girl away. A child pointed and said, "Mommy, is she a robot?" "No, baby, she's just unwanted," the mother replied. Back at the truck, Jax opened the door, and the girl sat without a word. The cow mooed behind them, tired but calm. Jax started the engine and drove away. Still wondering what he had just done, he didn't look at her, not yet, but he heard her whisper something very soft. "Thank you for taking me." Jax didn't reply. He just stared at the road ahead, knowing something big had just started, something he didn't understand yet. Rain began to fall as Jax drove down the rocky dirt road. The windshield wipers squeaked across the glass. The cow mooed softly in the back, and the girl sat beside him, silent, still, and small. Jax didn't speak for a long time. He focused on the road, his mind spinning. "I came for a cow," he thought. "Not this." But something inside him couldn't forget the way she had looked at him. Like he mattered. She held her hands on her lap, fingers tight together. Her silver hair was wet now, sticking to her cheeks. She wore only a thin gray cloth, more like a rag than a dress. Her skin had marks, old burns, faded scars, and fresh bruises. Finally, Jack spoke, not looking at her. "You got a name." There was a pause, then she answered softly. "My code was V83. Another pause. "But they called me V," Jax gave a small nod. "Well, V, I guess we're stuck with each other for now." He didn't say it kindly, but he didn't say it cruelly either. Just honest, tired, confused. V turned her head slightly and looked out the window. She didn't ask where they were going, or what he would do with her. She simply said, "Thank you for not touching me when they told you to." Jax glanced at her. Confused, "What do you mean?" she answered without emotion. "Usually buyers test the goods before taking them home." He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Damn this planet," he muttered. When they reached the farm, the rain had turned the ground into puddles. Jax led the cow into the barn, while V followed barefoot, not saying a word. He gave her a dry towel and pointed to a chair near the fire heater. "Dry yourself," he said. "You'll catch something." She did as told, sitting very straight, not touching the chair's backrest. Her posture was perfect, too perfect, like someone trained to be alert at all times. Jax poured her a cup of hot tea and handed it to her. She looked at the cup like it was a weapon, then slowly took it with both hands. She smelled it before taking a small sip, then placed it back down. "No drugs. No trackers," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "You think I drugged your tea?" Jax asked. Shocked, she didn't answer, but her silence said enough. That night, Jack set out a sleeping bag and a blanket for her in the corner of the main room. "You sleep here, all right," he said. But hours later, when he checked, she wasn't there. He found her outside in the barn, sitting beside the cow. She had wrapped the blanket around the animal instead of herself. "What are you doing out here?" he asked, confused. "She's more valuable than me," V said. "I shouldn't sleep in comfort while she's cold." Jack shook his head. "You're not a tool. And you're not a slave, God. I didn't buy you to use you. I didn't even mean to buy you at all. He stopped, not knowing how to finish that sentence. V looked up at him and said, "You touched the cage." Jax remembered those words from the market. You touch her, you buy her. That simple moment had changed both their lives. "Did you want me to?" he asked. "Did you look at me like that on purpose?" V didn't lie. "I was told to look pretty for the buyers, to show my teeth when I smile, to cry if needed. But when I saw you, I didn't feel the need to act. You didn't smell like filth or fire. You smelled like trees and honest work." Jax was quiet. The cow mooed softly again, like it felt the weight in the air. "You hungry?" he asked. Changing the subject, V nodded. He led her back into the kitchen and gave her warm soup. Bread and a little honey. She ate slowly, carefully, chewing each bite like it was a test. After she finished, she looked up and asked, "Do I work now?" "No," Jax replied. "You rest now. You don't have to earn your food." The next morning, Jax woke early, but V was already outside. She had cleaned the water filters, repaired the broken drone near the fence, and even reprogrammed the weather sensor. "How do you know how to do all that?" he asked, staring at the drone. She shrugged. "I was designed to serve humans in hard environments. We were trained in over 400 tasks before age 12. I can also cook, fight, speak 7 languages, and repair small ships." "You were trained like a soldier," Jack said quietly. "No," she replied. "We weren't trained to fight wars. We were trained to obey." He looked at her for a long time, then finally said, "You're not mine, V. But as long as you're here, I'll treat you like a person, not property." V nodded slowly. "But others won't," she whispered. "They'll come. Once they know where I am." Jax didn't answer, but he looked out toward the horizon, already wondering who those others might be and what he would do if they ever showed up. Jax couldn't sleep. The wind outside pushed against the old windows. The house creaked like it was holding secrets too heavy to bear. He got out of bed quietly and walked down the hallway. The floor groaned under his feet. When he passed the corner where V was supposed to be sleeping, he stopped. Her blanket was neatly folded, untouched. The pillow hadn't moved. He stepped outside, holding a lantern. The farm was dark, but he saw a faint light blinking inside the old tool shed. He followed the light, careful not to scare her. Inside the shed, Jax froze. V sat cross-legged on the floor with wires all around her. Broken machines, scrap metal, and blinking parts were laid out in a circle, At the center sat his broken surveillance drone, now repaired, its eyes glowing blue. She didn't look up, she was whispering to herself, in a language he didn't recognize. Her fingers moved quickly, faster than human hands should. Click, twist, solder, adjust. Jax took a step closer, and suddenly the drone turned to face him. Threat detected, it said in a robotic voice. V calmly raised a finger, and the drone went silent again. She finally looked up. I didn't mean to wake you, she said softly. I found this drone near the north fence. Broken and rusted, so I fixed it. Jack stepped back, confused and amazed. That thing hasn't worked in 2 years, he said. V simply nodded. I used to repair warbots when I was 12. You were trained to fix military tech, he asked, his voice low. Yes, she replied. And to disable it when needed? Jax rubbed the back of his neck. He wasn't scared of her, but he didn't know if he should be. What else can you do, he asked. She tilted her head slightly as if listing skills in her mind. I can pilot shuttles, translate alien dialects, break low-security firewalls, build water purifiers, cook over 800 recipes, and I'm trained in unarmed combat. Jax raised his eyebrows. Well, good thing you're on my side, V didn't smile. But she looked down, almost shy. I'm not dangerous to kind people, she said. Only to those who come to take me back. Jax didn't ask who they were. He knew better than to push too hard. Too fast, instead he asked something simpler. Why don't you sleep? She was quiet for a long moment, then answered, I don't like dreams. Dreams were used to test us. If you screamed, they watched. If you cried, they punished you. If you told them what the dream was, they made it worse the next night. Jack sat down beside her. The floor was cold, but he didn't care. You're safe here, he said. I don't care what they taught you. This is not that place. V looked at the repaired drone. Then back at Jack's. Do you want me to make weapons? She asked. In case someone comes, Jack shook his head. No, he said. I don't want to turn this place into a battlefield. But if you want to build something that helps you feel free, that word again. Free. She didn't understand it yet, not really, but it felt warm, like a light through fog. The next morning, Jax found the barn completely organized. Every tool was cleaned, labeled, and arranged by size and use. The broken water line was repaired, the heating unit was running smoother, and a small garden patch had been cleared near the back, by hand. V stood beside it, her hands dirty, her knees muddy. She looked up and said, I didn't ask for permission. Jack smiled for the first time in days. You don't need permission to grow things, he said. Only courage. She lowered her head. I don't think I'm brave. You are, he replied. You just don't know it yet. Later that day, Jax took her into town. He needed supplies and he wanted her to pick her own clothes. But as soon as they entered the market, eyes followed them, whispers began. That's the alien from the mud auction. He kept her. Isn't that against the registry code? V walked close behind him. Her head down, her hands tight together. He could feel her fear. Not from the place, but from the people. A local merchant walked up to Jax, pretending to be friendly. She's still yours, he asked with a smirk. I didn't mark her, Jax replied. She's not property, the merchant laughed. Good luck with that. Farmer, someone will come looking. That night, back at the farm, Jax saw her sitting alone again. He brought 2 mugs of warm milk and sat beside her on the porch. Did I do something wrong today? She asked. No, he said, they did. She didn't speak again, but she slowly leaned her head on his shoulder. Just for a second, then pulled away quickly. I'm sorry, she said. That was strange. Jax didn't move. It's okay, he said. You don't need to say sorry for being human. She looked at him with those glowing eyes. Confused, but I'm not, she whispered. He smiled gently. Maybe not by birth, he said. But you care, you build, you feel, you protect. And that, V, is more human than most. The sky turned orange as the sun dropped behind the hills. Golden light touched the fields, making the dirt shine like fire. Jack stood by the barn, wiping oil from his hands. V sat quietly nearby, pulling weeds from her small garden. She moved gently, carefully, as if each plant was a fragile secret. She didn't speak much anymore, but not because she was afraid, it was something else. Like she was waiting for the right moment to say something she had locked away. Jax had learned not to ask too many questions, but that evening, something changed. He saw her flinch when a low-flying patrol ship roared across the sky. She didn't scream or hide, but her hand stopped in the soil, her eyes fixed on the clouds. V, he said softly, What happened to you before the auction? She looked at him slowly. Her eyes weren't glowing now. Just wide, tired, and old. Too old for someone so young. I wasn't born, she whispered. I was printed. Jax didn't understand. Printed, he repeated. Yes, she said. Grown in a lab, designed, tested, trained. I don't have a mother or a father. Only codes, wires, teachers who never smiled. Jax felt something sharp twist inside his chest. He sat down on the ground beside her. Why would anyone do that? He asked. V pulled up her sleeve. Slowly, like it hurt, there, hidden under her skin, was a faint burn mark, a square barcode half melted. It looked like someone had tried to destroy it. But not enough. This marked me as property, she said. Human soldiers used us during the border wars. We were smart, fast, loyal. We followed every order. She paused, her voice shaky now. We thought we were heroes. They told us we were saving colonies, protecting lives. But when the peace treaty came, they shut down the labs. They destroyed most of us, sold the rest like junk. Jax's jaw tightened. He couldn't imagine the pain she carried. The betrayal, the confusion, the loss. You survived, he said. That means something. V looked down. I didn't want to. I wandered alone for months before a traitor found me. They locked me in a crate with food pills and metal cuffs. They told me to smile if anyone looked inside. Jax closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered how she had looked at him in the cage. Not broken, not angry, just waiting. Now he understood why. You weren't just hoping for freedom, he said. You were hoping someone would see you as more than a thing. V nodded. Slowly. You didn't touch me, she whispered. You looked at me like I was real. A long silence followed, filled only by the sound of crickets and distant wind. Then quietly, Jax stood and walked to the old garage. He returned with a toolbox and placed it beside her. What is this? She asked, confused. He opened the lid and pulled out a small device, a scanner. This reads old ID codes, he said. I used it when I found crashed probes in the forest. Maybe we can erase your barcode for good. V stared at the tool. Her hands trembling slightly, she reached out but stopped halfway. If it's gone, she whispered, I won't have any proof I ever existed. Jax looked into her eyes. Sometimes forgetting is how healing starts, he said. But we don't have to erase it tonight. Only when you're ready. She looked at the barcode again, then closed her sleeve. Maybe one more day, she said. That night, Jax gave her a journal, old, with blank pages. You can write what you want to remember, he said. Not what they forced you to become. She opened it slowly, her fingers brushing the paper. I've never written my own story, she said. Then let this be the first chapter, Jax replied. The next day, V didn't wake up early. For the first time, she had slept all night. And when she stepped outside, her eyes were brighter. She carried the journal with her like a small piece of armor. She still didn't laugh, not yet. But when Jax offered her a warm apple slice, she took it and smiled just a little. Not because she was told to, but because something inside her finally wanted to. The past hadn't left her. The scars were still there, under her skin and behind her eyes, but now she wasn't carrying them alone. The sun was high and the wind carried the smell of cut grass. Jax stood by the barn, fixing a loose board while V watered her tiny garden. Birds chirped from the trees and the cow slept in the shade. It was a quiet day, too quiet. V paused suddenly, her hands still. She turned her head slightly. Her eyes narrowing, Jax noticed it right away. What is it? He asked. She didn't speak. But her hand moved to her chest slowly, like something cold had touched her heart. 2 men, she said at last. Coming down the road. One more in the trees. Jax walked to the edge of the fence and saw the dust trail. A black vehicle rolled toward the farmhouse. Its windows dark, sleek, military style. No license plate. He felt a weight in his stomach. He looked back at V. Get inside, he said. She shook her head. They're not here to talk. The vehicle stopped near the gate. 2 men stepped out wearing black coats and shiny boots. The third came from the trees, calm and slow, holding a scanner. One of them spoke, his voice smooth like oil. Afternoon, sir, you own this land. Jax didn't answer right away. I work it, he said. Why? The man smiled without warmth. We're tracking a missing unit. Type V, high-value prototype. Seen anything strange around here? V stood behind the barn wall, watching silently. Her breath was shallow. Her hands clenched. Jax folded his arms. Strange like what? The second man stepped forward. Small female, he said. Silver hair, barcode under the skin. Dangerous if unmonitored. Jax didn't flinch. No one like that here, he said. The first man pulled out a small black screen. It showed a fuzzy image from the auction, a quick frame of V stepping into Jax's truck. He tapped the screen. Lying to us is a federal offense. Jax's jaw clenched. What law lets you hunt people like animals? She's not a person, the third man finally spoke. She's property. That word hit Jax like a slap. He stepped closer, face tight. She bleeds, he said. She's more human than any of you. The men didn't smile anymore. The first one reached into his coat, pulling out a metal rod with blinking lights. We'll take her now, he said. Suddenly, a sound broke the air. The hum of a drone activating behind them, Jax's old surveillance drone. The one V repaired, flew out from the barn. It buzzed past the men, flashing bright red lights. Threat detected, it said. Unauthorized agents on private land. The men turned quickly, pulling out their weapons, but before they could aim, Fee stepped from behind the barn, her face calm, her hands raised. Don't hurt him, she said. The man with the rod stepped forward. You know the protocol, he said. Come now. Or we stun him. Fee looked at Jax. Then at the men, her voice was soft but clear. I'll go. No, Jax growled, grabbing a shovel from the dirt. They can't take you. She shook her head slowly. If I resist, they'll mark this place for a burn. They'll send more. I won't let them destroy what you've built. Jax stepped in front of her, blocking the path. You're not going anywhere, he said. Not with them. The second man raised his weapon. Move, he ordered, but the drone zipped down suddenly, shocking his arm with a bolt of blue electricity. He screamed and dropped the weapon. V moved fast, too fast for the eye to follow. She ducked low, swept the first man's legs, grabbed the scanner from the third, and jumped back, all in 3 seconds. They froze, confused, unbalanced. She pointed the scanner at them and pressed a button. The screen flashed red, EMP pulse activated. Their weapons sparked, then died. Their communicator buzzed once, then shut off. You trained me to follow orders, she said, voice shaking. But he never gave me one. Jax stepped beside her. We protect each other now, he said. The men backed away, one holding his fried gear. This isn't over, one of them spat. You'll both be hunted. We'll be ready, Jax replied. The black vehicle reversed quickly, kicking up dust as it sped away. The 3 men disappeared down the road, and the farm fell silent again. V dropped the scanner. Breathing hard, her knees buckled. But Jax caught her. They're gone, he whispered. You're safe. No one's ever said that to me before, she replied. And this time she cried, not from fear, but because she finally believed it. The morning after the attack was quiet, the birds still sang, and the breeze still moved through the tall grass, but something had changed. The air felt different, like the silence after a storm. Jax was in the workshop, welding the barn gate back into place. The cow had broken it during the chaos last night, spooked by the men's shouting. But his mind wasn't on the gate, it was on V. She hadn't spoken much since the incident. She stayed inside, eyes watching the windows. Hands holding her journal tightly, Jax knew she needed time. But he also knew something else. She hadn't fought those men just to protect him. She was protecting something bigger. Later that day, as the sun reached its peak, V walked into the workshop. She held a small metal cube in her hands. It was black, smooth, and hummed softly like it held a secret. What's that? Jax asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. V looked around carefully before placing the cube on the table. Then she pressed her finger to its top. The cube unfolded like flower petals. Inside was a glowing blue crystal and a soft voice that began to speak. Uplink request confirmed, it said. Node V83 active. Jax stepped back. What is that thing? V's voice was quiet but clear. It's a beacon, she said. A hidden signal. When I was still in the facility before they sold me, I found the coding base for these beacons. She looked at him with calm, steady eyes. There are others like me, she said. Some still working in farms, factories. Some running, hiding, dying. They don't know where to go, but if this beacon stays active long enough, they'll come. Jax stared at her. You're trying to start a rescue. No, she said. I'm answering one. She explained that long ago a few prototypes escaped their handlers. One of them, a girl named Era, built the first beacon before she vanished. She passed the design through coded messages, machine parts and whispers between working bots. The message was simple: you're not broken. You're not alone. Come home. Jack sat down, trying to take it all in. So now what? He asked. You plan to build a team? Start a war? V shook her head. No war, she said. Just a place to be free. But they'll come again, Jax warned. Those men are worse, I know, she said. But next time I won't run. I'll stand. That night, they placed the beacon on the roof of the barn. Its glow was faint, barely visible to the human eye. But V said those like her would feel it, like a thread pulling them toward hope. 3 days passed, nothing happened. No new visitors, no trouble, but V stayed alert, checking the skies every night. On the fourth night, Jax was locking up the shed when he saw a shadow near the fence. He froze, heart pounding. V, he whispered. She was already behind him, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. I see it too, she said. They walked slowly toward the figure. It was small, thin, and shaking. A girl, maybe 12, her arms wrapped around her stomach. V ran to her without fear. Model type, she asked gently. The girl opened her mouth, her voice raspy. F-series. F11, Jax blinked. There were children, made for labor, maybe worse. His stomach turned. V knelt, taking the girl's hand. You're safe now, she said. You followed the signal. The girl nodded weakly. I ran for 3 days, she whispered. No food, no water. They carried her inside, gave her soup and wrapped her in a blanket. V stayed by her side all night, holding her hand like a big sister. She whispered soft words Jax didn't understand but felt in his chest. The next morning, 2 more came, then another and another. By the end of the week, 6 frightened souls sat around the farm table, each one a different model, each one carrying silent pain. V helped them clean up, heal, rest. Jax turned the old chicken coop into sleeping quarters. He gave up half his food supplies without complaint, because he saw something in their eyes, hope. But not everyone was happy. The nearby town had started whispering again. Rumors flew like birds. Jax is hiding runaways. He's got a house full of alien machines. They're dangerous. One afternoon, a man from town drove by and shouted, Careful, Miller. One day they'll cut your throat while you sleep. Jax didn't reply, but that night he placed sensors all around the property, and the beacon kept glowing inside. V looked at the little ones resting near the fire. She turned to Jax and said, They don't know what freedom means yet, but they can feel it. Jax nodded. And you? He asked. Do you feel it too? She looked out the window. I'm starting to, she said, but it's not mine yet. Not until I stop hiding. The sky was dark with clouds. Wind moved through the fields like quiet warning. Jax stood on his porch, shotgun in hand, not to shoot, but to show he wouldn't run. V stood beside him, calm, dressed in real clothes now, not rags, not chains. Behind them, inside the house, 6 escapees sat huddled together. They were no longer just broken tools, they were family. A black vehicle appeared again on the dirt road. Same type, same sound, but this time there were 2 of them. And a dropship hovered in the sky above the hill. They're here, V whispered. Jax nodded. I know. They walked down to the front gate together. Side by side, no fear in their steps, only strength. 3 men stepped out. One of them the same from last time. But this time he didn't smile. He looked at the group of small figures inside the house and said, This ends now. V stepped forward. No, she said. It begins now. You don't get to build a rebellion, the man snapped. You don't get to teach broken machines to dream. We're not machines, she said. We bleed, we think, we feel, and we don't want war. We want a home. One of the other agents pointed toward the beacon glowing softly on the roof. That device is illegal, he said. It's spreading classified programming. Jax spoke for the first time. That classified programming saved my farm, my life, and my soul. You don't get to call it a virus just because it makes them want freedom. The man raised a weapon. Stand down or we open fire. V closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. Her voice was strong but quiet. Then shoot me. Jax turned sharply. What are you doing? He whispered. She looked at him with warmth in her eyes. This is how we end it, she said. Not by running, not by hiding, but by standing. The agents hesitated. They expected fear, screaming, begging, not calm, not defiance. Inside the house, one of the children peeked through the window. Then another. Then all of them walked outside. Quietly standing behind Jax and V, the agents stared. "Back away," the leader shouted. "Now." None of them moved. And then, from the road behind them, another figure appeared. A tall woman, old and scarred, an ex-soldier, one of the early trainers. She had followed the beacon too. She stepped forward and said, "I made them what they are. But I never imagined they'd become more human than us." She faced the agents. "If you want to take them," she said. "You'll have to go through me," one of the agents cursed. "They're tools," he shouted. "They belong to the system." V looked up at Jax. Her voice shook slightly. "Will you let them take me?" Jax looked into her eyes, those glowing, honest, quiet eyes that had seen war, chains, and pain, and still chose to plant flowers, fix broken things, and protect the weak. "No," he said, "I won't let them take what's mine." He reached out his hand. Open and steady, V hesitated, then slowly she took it. The world seemed to stop for a second. The agents lowered their weapons, confused. Unsure, the lead agent stepped forward. "You just claimed her," he said, voice tight. "You know what that means?" "Yes," Jack said. "I do. By ancient Earth-Alien Alliance law, claiming someone as life mate granted them protection. It was old, rarely used, but still legal. And irreversible." The agent spit on the ground. "You just started a war over a tool." "No," Jack said, holding V's hand tighter. "I just ended one." He turned to V. "You're not my servant," he said. "You're not my worker. You're my equal, and I stand with you." The agents left that day, not because they believed it was over, but because they didn't want to be the first to pull the trigger against the law. Later that night, V sat under the stars beside Jax. Her head rested on his shoulder, her fingers still locked with his. "I never thought I'd be someone's anything," she said. "I used to dream about being invisible." Jax looked at her. "Well, now you're visible," he said. "To me, to the kids, to the world. Does this mean I'm yours now?" she asked softly. "No," he said. "It means we're each other's." The beacon kept glowing, and far away, others started to walk toward that small, quiet farm, following the signal of hope, of safety, of something no one had given them before. A home built not with walls but with hands that never let go.